Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to finally give my review of Boys Run the Riot by Keito Gaku. This is a Kodansha release, 4 volumes long, complete. This is a series that I have wanted since it was announced. And Volume 1 kept going out of stock. I managed to get my hands on Volumes 2 through 4, but still could not get Volume 1 and was getting really frustrated about it. And then eventually I got my hands on it. So, and then that night read the entire series. This is what I've been waiting for, is a series written by a trans man, starring a trans man, and it's about fashion, which just adds an extra check mark for me. This is a really, really good series. It is about Ryo. He is a high school student who is transgender, and he's very uncomfortable with the fact that he has to wear the girl's uniform. He's very uncomfortable with himself, and so he goes to school every day and tries to kind of lay low and not draw attention to himself. There's a girl that he kind of likes, and but he's, way too shy and doesn't want to get rejected because of who he is, so he doesn't act on that crush. And he's kind of, you can tell he's lonely, and you can tell that he's struggling, but nobody in his life knows about him because he hasn't told anybody. And so a new student arrives who is a year older, but he's failed a grade, I believe. His name is Jin. You can see his back on the front of the first cover, and there he is on the final cover. He comes in, he's a bit of an oddball. He's huge, he's very out there, he's kind of loud and boisterous, and Dio is immediately like, ugh, who is this weirdo who's wearing his heart on his sleeve? Why can't he just, be quiet like the rest of us and put our, walk through life with their head down? But by a twist of fate, Dio, who loves clothing, is at some indie clothing shop, and him and Jin both reach for the same hoodie or shirt or whatever at the same time, and he turns to him, and Jin is like, this is fate, we are destined to be together, we both like the same fashion. And so he's like, let's start a fashion brand together. You can design stuff and I'll focus on the social media marketing aspect, the business aspect of it. And Dio is like, nah, I'm good. You're weird. But then, very quickly comes around to the idea, and because Jin is very enticing, and Yo sees in Jin what he kind of wants to be. He wants to be out there. He wants to wear his heart on his sleeve. He wants people to know who he is and exist. As a man, he doesn't want to keep hiding who he is, but he doesn't want to have to come out, and he doesn't want to have to deal with the backlash that's probably going to cause. But Jin is just so unapologetically himself, and that's something that Ryo lacks. And so he kind of is really pulled into that energy, and they both do genuinely love clothing and fashion, and so they sort of join forces and start researching and start trying to design stuff, and in the process they pick up another classmate of theirs who's going to do the photography for them, and he's got his own sort of hang-ups and social awkwardness, and he sees their passion and he's like, oh, I want to be that. Why can't I be that? And so he joins them, and the moral of this story is that you can be that. There is nothing stopping you from doing what you love. You can make excuses, or you can tell yourself that, oh, it's not going to make me any money, or it's not going to, people are going to make fun of me, or or my parents aren't going to approve, or society's not going to approve, or, you know, XYZ. There's always a reason to not do something. And it just takes the right person to enter your life to give you the confidence to go for it. And for Ryo, that was Jin. And it's a really, really beautiful story about Ryo kind of coming to his own and, you know, coming out to some of his new friends, and the acceptance that they just are like, okay, cool, yeah, no, that's fine. Like, you're a cool dude. We're still going to hang out with you. We still want to do this brand with you. We still want to, you know, exist in your orbit. And there's a lot of really good themes here about being a queer creator, and how, like, how to strike a balance between your queer existence and what you create, because there is a place for people to express their queerness through their art, but there's also something to be said about the fact that queer artists do not always have to make art explicitly about queerness, and that queer art, or art made by queer people, does not exclusively have to be enjoyed only by queer people. That there is space for queer artists to create art that is for everyone. And it doesn't have to be a novelty that, oh, this is a trans guy making fashion, so, you know, all the trans people need to support him, and it's only for queer people, and if you're not queer, you probably aren't going to want anything to do with this brand. You know, Dio is struggling with the fact that he wants to be just seen as the guy that he is, and he doesn't want he's trying to figure out whether or not he wants his brand to be, you know, an exact representation of his queerness, and his transness. How does he want to express himself as an artist? And how does he want to respect the fact that there are queer artists who will explicitly only make queer content, and that's also fine? But it's equally as fine that he doesn't, if he does not want to be that. And so there's like a non-binary, basically like YouTube creator in this story, and we kind of follow the different paths that both Ryo and this other person are on, and their different comfort levels with their own identities and their own existence, and how the different places in their life that they're at, but also that there's an equal opportunity for them to learn from each other. And, you know, I just really, really appreciated this conversation, because a lot of the themes in this story are things that I have dealt with in my own life. A lot of the people that Ryo is interacting with, I have met those people. I've been around those people. I've been friends with those people. I've been, you know, acquaintances, or felt uncomfortable by, or whatever. I've met all of these people before. And I've experienced very similar things. And this is just a very refreshing title that, you know, is just very comforting, because I know that this mangaka has, you know, drawn on some of their own personal experiences, but then also just been like, you know, how a lot of the themes explored in this manga, you can tell that this mangaka is like trying to work out a lot of these things themselves. And there's an interview in the first volume with the mangaka about this series, and the one part about, like, when he's talking about how, you know, he made the part of the story where they're talking about being queer and being a creator, and how to, you know, balance, you know, am I a creator who happens to be queer, or am I a queer creator who creates queer content? I'm very excited to see what Keito Gaku does next, because I think it's just exciting to see some trans men come onto the scene, and for us to get these titles in English. And I'm excited to see, whatever it is that he creates next, whether it's anything to do with transness or not. Like, I just want to support this person and be invested in what they're doing. Because the other thing too is, like, the English translation team, from what I understand, was pretty much predominantly made up of trans and non-binary folks. And to see that these people who were passionate about this work were able to get it here into my hands, and to read the interview, and to, just know that so much care and love went into this. It's just very exciting. I'm excited for the future of manga, and particularly like English releases of manga. I'm excited for this newer trend of like trying to get own voices works over here. And I just found this to be so incredible. And I think back on, like Wandering Sun, which is not an own voices work, but one that has had a profound impact on my life, and which I still desperately would like a full release in English, so I can have that physically, to anybody listening. But like, we've come a long way in the years since then, and I'm just excited to see what's next. If you've read Boys Run the Riot, I would love to hear your thoughts. I will probably do a more in-depth, like full of spoiler kind of, discussion about this series. But for now, I think I will just leave you with what I've already said. Because this is really a story about acceptance. It's a story about self-acceptance, and then also, coming to terms with how to express yourself to the people around you, how to open up to the people around you. Because a really key theme in this is that, a lot of the time as trans people or queer people or just people in general who've gone through something, we feel like, oh, nobody understands me. But on the flip side, if you don't allow people in, you don't tell people what you're going through, you don't, confide in the people around you that you should trust, they're never going to understand, because you're not giving them the opportunity to. And I think that's a really poignant theme of this series, is that it's a two-way street. And it's very difficult as a young person, particularly somebody who's just kind of coming into their own and trying to figure out who they are, is very difficult to rationalize that. That piece that it is a two-way street, that it's not just the world, everyone hates you, and the world is out to get you. You need to put in the effort to allow people in, to allow people to understand, and to allow people to love you, because you can't just not say anything and expect everybody to read your mind and know exactly what your needs are, and know exactly what you want out of your life, and who you are as a person, without you actually explaining to them what you want from them. And it's a very difficult thing, and it takes a lot of time, and I'm very lucky that I've made it to the point in my life that I'm at, that I can reflect back on my teenage years, and I can reflect back on my childhood, and as an adult I can sit here and say that I do love myself, and that the people around me also love me, and that I've been open and honest with them, and have been able to open up to them, for them to wholeheartedly love me, and that I can accept that love. But it is very difficult. It is very, very difficult for particularly young trans people to understand that, things aren't just going to fall into place. That unfortunately there is a lot of work that has to be done in terms of self-acceptance, but also in terms of reaching out to the people around you for that love and acceptance, because they're not going to understand unless you tell them, unless you express to them what you're feeling and what you need from them. And unfortunately, there will be times when people are horrible about it, but there will also be times where you meet people like the friends that Yo has met here, that will just be like, yeah, we love you, we know you, that you're talented, and we want to be around you. There are those people, and you just need to meet them, and you need to open up to them so that you can actually receive that love that they're more than willing to give. But if you don't open up, you are always going to walk through life thinking that everybody doesn't like you and nobody's going to understand, because if you don't let them in, then of course they're not going to. So anyway, this is a really, really beautiful series. I will absolutely be reading this often. And I think it's just a perfect length. 4 volumes is so great. It's a really, really great series that is not going to break the bank. I think it's accessible to a lot of people to pick this up. And yeah, don't be discouraged by the consistent out of stock issue. Just pick up the volumes that are available and pick away at it until you can get them all, because yeah, I sat down and read it all in one sitting. I was very much waiting for this this series, and finally to have it feels pretty good. So anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts if you've read Boys Run the Riot. Yeah, thanks for watching.